Next, we have two people from Deloitte, and they'll talk about the Smart Factory that they have actually here in Montreal. And we are partnered with Deloitte on that specific project, so it's going to be another exciting discussion about, again, helping customers understand what it means to go into this digital transformation. So Marc-Olivier, Gaudreault, and Samuel Dion from Deloitte, please come on stage. Great. So there's a couple of things. So obviously, we want to talk about the Smart Factory. And one thing I really like is that you're bringing sort of the yin and the yang of helping customers understand how to move into this digital discovery phase. And so maybe start with what your roles are at Deloitte, and then we can talk about the Smart Factory, right?
Sure thing. So hello, everyone. My name is Marc-Olivier. I'm working as a senior manager in manufacturing strategy and smart operation at Deloitte. So most of my day-to-day activities are to help clients solve their manufacturing and warehousing problems. And this encompasses, of course, the digitalization of their operation and their smart factory journey. So most of my activities are towards consulting and helping organizations to transform and moving towards their automation journey.
Hey, I'm Samuel, and I'm also part of Deloitte, but more specifically, I work on the day-to-day at the Smart Factory that we have in Montreal. And that's a project we've started just a few years ago. Started in 2023, and obviously the design came before that. And so we're working on visitors coming. They have questions on what are the new technology, how they can respond to some of the trend in the market, and what's out there. So not a lot of people are necessarily coming to these sort of panels where they can learn more about the technology. So in our place, we combine a lot of different tech, either in warehouse or in the manufacturing. And well, I think that's what you're going to see in the video. So that just helps the visitors that are coming just get a better sense of just what's out there, how they can help, and their specific pain points that they have. And so it's a very different, vast variety of use cases that are being shown. And obviously, Preview 3D is a part of it. And you saw in some of the videos that they had the platform, the 3D scan that they did with us.
Exactly. And again, this is something that's amazing, especially based in Montreal, is that, we talk about technology, but to touch it is an important factor, right? So again, in this digital twin journey, intelligent manufacturing site factory, right? To see these examples that you're building up is an amazing element that otherwise, well, it's just a concept. And here we have something that you can say, I'm going to go there, and you can see it, right? And so
yeah, and for us at Deloitte, it's not like we are a machine builder or necessarily directly technology developer. So obviously we have a vast variety of, and that you can see on the screen of technology providers that are there with us. And really our job, and Alex alluded to that before, mentioning that he's working in consulting, and the vast majority of the work is about education. So that's a big part of the funding principle that we've had at this facility. It's join many tech companies together, learn with each other, provide that opportunity for visitors to come and touch, feel those technology. And even for us, we're learning a lot about what's out there. Just today, we're learning a lot about either Omniverse and the work that the incredible work you guys are doing at the Preview 3D. And so it just allows us to learn what's out there in the market so that we can better serve our client.
Yeah, you should talk to Dion, because I don't see his logo in here. So yeah. Maybe like
and one thing that you mentioned that is pretty interesting is in all of the problems that the organization are asking us, when we solve all of those problems, one key activities is presenting the art of the possible. So we're doing this with all of our clients, but when we're talking with warehousing and manufacturing clients, doing this art of the possible market or global scan in a conference room from an office is really not as meaningful as it could be. And so we have built this facility to be able to demonstrate and to let our client perform or do these key activities, which is screening what's best in the world in terms of technology to solve their problem. And we do this particular activity at our Smart Factory, which is a fully immersive journey or a half-day immersive activity. So it's really, really more meaningful that way.
Is there other sites like that at Deloitte, or there's a couple more, I think, right?
Yep, exactly. So all of these sites, so in Germany, it's the founding one, the first one that they built, and we have another one in Wichita and two others in Japan. Also have one in construction in Australia and some other project that I've heard about. We don't know all the details sometimes. It's quite big to keep following up on everybody's
You're a big company.
project. Yeah. But every one of them is different. They work with their partners in a different way, and they each represent a little bit what Deloitte in their specific market are really doing, and what are their strength in those markets. So they each have a different field. So obviously, if people are in Germany and they want to go see it, it's going to be a lot different than the one we have in Montreal. So each one of them is quite different, but it tries to respond to the points we were talking about, just education, getting a feel of the technology, just learning more about it.
So obviously part of the subject is accelerating the adoption of smart operations. So, I'm a manufacturing company. How do I, start engaging with you guys to, go and visit your site? Like, what's the process? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, so they can go on our website. They can and contact us directly to come for a visit. So really, we try to keep the center as open as possible, so everybody can come and see it. We also have these events that we do every couple of months, and you guys are always there at these events, where we just bring a lot of our sponsors together. So it's like all the ecosystem that comes back together, and they can talk to each other, and you have more specialty to more technical presentation that can be performed on that day. Mm-hmm. But typically, people contact us. They are interested either in just a warehousing tour or a manufacturing tour. Sometimes it's both. And we have intake calls with them. We try to learn a little bit more. What are their pain points at the moment? What are the certain techs that they're looking for? So we try to understand exactly in what space they are at. So which technology is going to interest them the most. And after that, they come to our site. It's pretty much a half-day activity where we go and we select 10 or so use cases. We explain those technologies. Obviously, we can present a lot of them, but every time they want to go more in depth on those technologies, well, that's when we'll reach out to our sponsors that they can go more in depth. And so yeah, it's kind of a half-day activity, and they come out there with documentation of what they saw, and a workshop, some conclusions, some next steps, and anything to help them in the future.
Absolutely, and it's so important because the beginning of the journey is very hard for a lot of companies, right? You hear about digital twins, smart factories, AI, and whatever else. Mm-hmm. And it's like, where do you start, right? And I think that it's a great investment that Deloitte is making with these centers, because it makes it more accessible, mm-hmm. right? And so, do you have any examples of some of the companies, without necessarily naming names, but you've had recent experience where you've helped them to accelerate their thinking about, digitizing more, or becoming more of a smarter factory? Like, do you have any examples of a story without names, maybe, or if you have a name, that's cool too.
Let me think of a good one we've had recently. Yeah, I think we've had some folks, and that's a food and beverage company. That's a company that you guys are also working with, but. For that specific demo on that day, it was really we had a demo that we do with a local company from Montreal as well, OCDA, and they do with integration with Boston Dynamics. And a lot of people have seen the dog in videos and stuff, but they didn't necessarily have seen it like in person and what it can actually do. What's the added value? And so when they come to our site, they can really see the added value. We do leak detection, temperature defects and stuff. And for that company, it really talked a whole lot, because they said, we've seen it in person sometimes in videos, but we really never felt what the value was. And that just, help them see that value, and now we're trying to work on it to develop something with them. But obviously, sometimes it's just that. It's just seeing it in person. It's clicking for you, and you're finally understanding. Oh, this is where it can help me.
You must be getting these aha moments where someone's coming in, and then as they're seeing it real, like suddenly it makes sense, right? So.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that as well too.
Yeah.
So it's either the AMR moving around, moving pallets, and just your platform as well, seeing it when we do the demo, because we've personally used it. So that's also a way to share the message with the folks that they're coming. When we do a demo with Prévu 3D's tool, we go over what the first scan that you guys did in the beginning, where the facility was a lot different, and we brought a lot of new equipment in there. And at first, for us, we place these equipment to have a journey for the visitors, so that they come. There's like a journey that they can come and see it. And we had to place all these new machines, and we had some dimensions, and we couldn't figure out like how it's going to fit. So we use the tool, obviously, to put everything in place, show it when we have the 3D CAD that are being given to us by the suppliers, we bring it in. And that's really what we're showing to folks coming in. So for some people, they've seen it and they said, oh, I've heard about digital twins, I've heard about this stuff, but I never knew what the value really was. And now they can see it and it talks more to them.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the aha moment is when they see the Boston Dynamics dogs in action, but sometimes it's also to understand. The aha moment comes when we explain them how other companies in the same industry with similar processes use and leverage and technologies, and how it integrates with all of the ecosystem and the other system that they are using. And sometimes the aha moment comes when we help them demystify how can they implement that, and what are the key steps and milestones they need to encompass, or they need to get through in order to foster adoption. So the most cool aha moments are when they look at the technology itself and they see it in action, but sometimes in the backbone of what we're doing, they have other kind of aha moment. And how can they implement it? It's most of the time the key thing.
Yeah. And for us, we're really excited about with our coming integrated systems, operational data, and everything else into that digital twin. And it's going to be a great project working with Deloitte again to push even more the use of pre-3D within your digital factory that you have as a facility. So it's going to be really fun.
For sure, that's something we've heard people ask about, is like all the management of the documentation or data is being handled. And I think what we talked about this morning is just trying to get this. People are still using the specific products that they're really good at for, let's say, product lifecycle management and stuff like that. But the idea is not to replace those tools, but it's just to integrate them in the platform so that you can have a really clear view of what's going on.
Yeah, again, it's back to the visual context, right? Like helping put in context the documentation that you have, and it's not moving that documentation around. Again, it's a common mistake. If you have a PLM, great, but now how can we bring context to that platform or bring the documentation to our visual layer, right? What else can we do as Preview to help you being successful with your smart factory?
I think it's what we're doing today is great. Like just getting the word out there that this exists and that people can come and visit it and just experience it. Just learn about these new tools. And honestly, sometimes people are coming and we also learn a lot. Like companies will come and they'll explain some of the things that they've tried before that didn't work. And just that discussion we have with them is also a great opportunity for us to learn. I mean, and for us too, like sometimes we would suggest some technologies to client, and well, by having them at our smart factory and have it played with them, we kind of know more how they actually worked, and we've had so many lessons learned of integrating some of the robots and some of the difficulties we've come across.
Yeah, I can imagine that going from theory to practice, right? Like you have real life experience in this, and it's pretty exciting. Like I've been there a couple of times, and it's amazing to see all of this. And it's not a huge space, but you've got everything you're looking for in how to create a smarter factory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Want to take some Q&A?
Sure.
I'm sure there's some questions from the audience or from online. So anybody has a question for our friends from Deloitte?
Yep.
Yep, right there.
Reality capture and digital twins, including digital assets, I think captures the state of the art right now. And Preview 3D is really at the forefront of all that. But just a couple of years ago, we used to think about or hear a lot about industrial metaverse. Where is that concept, is that just a concept without much into it? Or what are the expectations or the promise of industrial metaverse, which is versus what the state of the art right now?
It's a really good question. I think obviously there's always some marketing hype on these things, but I'll take the parallel of like when the web came around, right? Like at first you had to have a web page, right? That was the whole purpose. You must have a web page. And okay, well then what do? And really the web came around in a serious fashion when you had Web 2.0 with real applications, SaaS like Amazon, and SaaS applications like Salesforce.com and so on. And that's really where you create these new categories of solutions. And so I think for me, industrial metaverse is like Web 1.0, right? It's the idea of having a digitized environment that connects things together, but we really need to define the actual applications that will embody the notion of an industrial metaverse, right? So I think that for me, that's really where we're embarking into this, right? Like that's what we're thinking about at Privy a lot, about how you, because of course, like you think of, okay, I have a pump and I see data with it, great. But I predict that that's going to get some fatigue because it's good that you can see the pressure and the, anything you have on that device, but how do you take this to the next level about embedding insight on information, right? There's data everywhere right now, and it's hard to get context on this information, right? There's so many examples where you have like things in silos, and it's hard to get to the root cause because it's there, but you're not visualizing it. So visualizing time and space onto a digital replica is still early on into that level, but it's going to change a lot. Like same thing, like you look at weather. Like if you look at the weather for a specific city or like the CO2 emissions in Montreal, then you see it on a full map as like scientific visualization. Suddenly, there's things that you're seeing that you would not see otherwise. And I think that's going to be a big driver for how to truly create this type of industrial metaverse.
I think that's a topic that we hear a lot about. For us, we're all ears. We don't do really a lot of demos yet in that space. We're all here about what's always going to solve problems. At the moment, what we are really showcasing and what we do is specific use cases that are being solved, responding to some of the trends we see in the market. So that hasn't come around. If somebody could come and really give me, and maybe that's some of the speakers that were there that can really explain it clearly to me and which specific use case it would solve, that's something I would definitely be interested in showcasing for sure.
Thank you. Other questions? I think you had a question there, yeah. Passing the microphone. There we go.
A quick question for you, Samuel. How have you seen the persona of these buyers change over time? What are you seeing in terms of the transitory understanding of what these buyers are looking for, and what has evolved in terms of the persona of the buyer and what they're trying to tackle for on a day-to-day basis?
Buyers, you mean some of the folks that came?
Correct. Yeah.
And are interested in some. Okay. Yeah, so a lot of people that are coming to our place, and that's where it's made for, is to come and see the art of the possible. So sometimes for us, it's a bit, people are coming without a lot of expectation necessarily, just coming to see what's out there. But to your point, what I think has changed, and it's one of the trends we see in the market, especially at the customer level, but I think it's also true at the business level, is people are quite informed. There's a lot more information out there. People know, they have a lot more knowledge of what exists. And actually, when we do those tours and demos, they can really ask more technical questions. They kind of heard what's going on out there. It's not nothing. It's rarely really something brand new. And so that knowledge for us, that's all this factory is also came about, is also for us to just be able to talk more about those topics and have a better presence in those different tech.
Great, thank you. It's awesome what you're doing for just the general tech community at large in Montreal. It's a fantastic initiative, and we're lucky to have partners like you. So thanks.
Other questions? Don't be shy. Any question is a good question. Oh, another one here. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. I was wondering, how do you select the use cases you showcase, and how do you keep up to date with the technology and how it evolves?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll let Marco also speak to it a bit about it.
Yes.
But
Think about it.
Just one thing I wanted to mention is, in the beginning, we were a lot of it was from pen and paper, like with that we had certain ideas of what we needed to develop. And so we needed certain specific technology that we thought were really trending in the market, and we had to showcase. After that, we were all ears on the market, what's going on, and we try to fit the great technology that were there. And with Prévu, it was, I mean, all the world of digital twin is something we hear a lot about. And so it's a super interesting topic, and I think the pain point that they were coming to solve was really interesting for us. So just having that data, you know, sometimes people just don't have that 3D data, and so that was really responding to a specific problem for digital twins, and we thought that was a great tool to showcase, and it's a differentiator compared to the other thing. And Marco, I know we worked a couple times on just making that. I forgot the term in English, but doing that horizon of veille technologique in French for those French listeners.
We have a pretty formalized process where we do scan the market in terms of issues. So we have our point of view. We have Deloitte Research and Insight that feeds us with the signature issue for manufacturers and warehousing organization. We also use and leverage our network of smart factories. So we have practitioners working on those factories across the world. We're also working pretty hard to find the right balance between emerging tech, emerging Canadian tech, and mature technologies, because we really want to showcase the art of the possible, but not only mature technologies that can be implemented, but make sure that our visitor can dream about the future by presenting emerging technologies. And also we're leveraging the Canadian and Quebec ecosystem, so we can think about the Centre d'Excellence Industrielle. We do also have partnership with HEC Montréal with their UX research chair. We're also developing partnership with McGill and with ETS. So we are really trying to foster the entire Quebec and Canadian ecosystem, our practitioner, and our own network. So we're putting together, and we have a pretty formalized process to assess what's in the market and what should we be showcasing.
Yeah, I think on the question about use cases, it's really about asking the customers where are their pain points.
Exactly.
Right? And so because we often try to find a solution and not defining the problem, right? So, you know, customers, owner operators, they have issues. They have things that can be health, safety related to other things, or efficiency of their facilities, whatever that is. And it's starting from there and driving then how do we solve that? And there's so many ways in how to solve a problem. But once you've defined the real problem, then that's where it's exciting, because then you're really driving to something that will be meaningful for those customers.
And this is the only thing we're doing. We're solving problem, and we are showcasing technologies or solution to solve those problems. So we do not sell any technologies. We do sell service to solve problems. So when they do come at the Smart Factory, we're able to showcase what are the technologies or non-technologies that can help them resolve what they have in mind.
And Michel, you brought an interesting point too, like the end user is really the key.
Yeah.
Like all we're trying to do is help humans that are doing the work either be more efficient, have more fun in the work that they're doing, right? We thought about some new tech. I think with Revit, the plugins you guys are doing there, it looks like it was really interesting for the end user. So it really starts with the human, what they always going to interact with that technology. And we sometimes, as engineers, we like to geek around on the tech, but yeah, the human is the
Absolutely.
king.
And again, back to what you've done, like I like that you have all this like large amount of partners, because you know, for a specific owner operator to learn about all of that, there's a lot of data searching for building that same puzzle that you've built into your facility. And I think that's an important exploration about, and it's back to collaboration. In not a single company there does the whole thing. It's all these connected environments that's ultimately create the best solution for the different use cases.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yes.
Yeah, so I have a question. I think we all get kind of the value that a smart factory has. My question is, like, what are some of the challenges maybe that your partners or clients have about having a multitude of smart factories, and is that like part of their thought process for, okay, I'm sure there's problems with just one factory, but having multiple factories and how that plays into it. So maybe if you could just touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's the integration of those factories definitely. So how those organizations has grown when they have multiple sites. How can they see and leverage the data, and how can they converge into one single data point or dashboard is definitely one issue. Adoption, the people sides of the smart factories is also something that we work a lot with our clients. How can they make sure they adopt? How can they make sure they unlock the values of smart factory? Because sometimes a lot of ROI has been promised at commissioning, but they never cash this real value. So we are definitely helping them get this through the finish line. And there's also this not new, but this pretty, I don't know, we are hearing more and more the cybersecurity issues with the IT and OT kind of problems, and the fact that it's not fully converged at the this is a difficult English, organizational level. Yeah. So we also worked a lot with our clients to make sure that they have like clear operating model to converge IT and OT, because I don't know, one of my most recent client has this particular issue. They received a cyber attack because they grew organically in different factories with different processes, which makes sense, and they implement a lot of smart factory technologies. But since there were no guideline between IT and OT, then they got cyber attacked, and they had to retransform and do backward work. But it was yeah. So this is the most pressing issues, I would say, when you have one or multiple smart factories.
Cool. A few more questions. Don't be shy. Anybody online? Like I haven't seen any questions from online from this panel.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. You said you were basically you were not selling anything. You're just there to propose solution to pain points to clients. How did you decide to showcase preview to clients, and like what are the pain points that you're trying to solve by presenting preview to your customers?
Yeah, so I alluded to that a little bit before, but really, and that's something we've discussed with Michel in the beginning, like when we talk about digital twin, what we already had to showcase was just doing what-if scenarios, so more engineering tools of simulating some certain process to incorporate some robots in there. Also going to change the throughput, so you run if scenarios, I have more or less people there. So that's one aspect of it, but what we liked about Prevue's tool is that it went in a bit of also another direction where it's like, okay, let's use the data. You're coming with engineering rotating machine parts, right? And you need to align them and install them, and you kind of need that data up front. And not a lot of people in the industrial spaces were just having these CAD files of the existing facilities. So we thought that this was a really interesting play. Of that people would be interested in learning more about that. And we've had some feedbacks from people, and they saw the platform, and one of the feedback they had was like, oh, for us, we do a lot of changes on our shop floor, right? And that we think that could help us move things around and try to reorganize things as they are always changing some designs. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we wanted to put the products in the factory. That's the play where they were sitting.
Yeah. Actually, it brings a point for me is that often companies, in order to be successful in doing these like digital twins or smart factories, it's all about the buy-in from the key stakeholders, the C-level suite, right? And one thing, and we'll talk about that with the Amsterdam right after this, is like getting this buy-in is not trivial, and so you can come up with all the, we can do this and that, different use cases, but then how do you get management level to understand how impactful this can be for their business? And I'm sure that you're getting that question often from your visitors and customers on their site, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and like real pain points would be optimizing layout, implementing or reshaping the facility, working on brownfield facility, trying to optimize how things are moving or things are set up to increase the throughput, reduce cost, or to implement for example, a new manufacturing line, which is something we do often.
Another thing we've heard, and I'd like to hear your input on that, Michel, is people have come to us, and that's especially touching on the generative AI aspects of things, where we've shown demos on that. People were asking a lot about like aging workforce, and having all that knowledge stuck in some people that have the knowledge of either machinery, documentation, troubleshooting. They have all that knowledge, and they're going in retirement soon. And the knowledge transfer hasn't been done properly for the younger generation that's coming. And also the younger generation is expecting companies to have tools to work with, right? They don't want to work with paper and scanning paper and writing reports. So they expect companies to have these more tech tools. And I think that's another great pain points that the platform is solving, is to create that knowledge transfer.
Absolutely.
And visually see it.
Well, and the next generation of workforce they're digital natives, right? They've always been with game consoles and other things. So for them, the web has always existed. They didn't see it coming. It's like it's there. Of course, there's web and all this stuff and whatever else. And so and of course they expect that where they'll start working is going to be at that same level of evolution of technology. And so that's going to be it's a challenge and an opportunity, really, because if companies don't realize that if they want to bring the right talent for that next phase of their business, you cannot just make it, here's all the old system that we have in place, right? Because they'll be like, I'm not going to work on these systems. Like, I want something that's more easier, more efficient. Because they're used to that. That's what they expect. And so when they see these like cranky old systems, they can't even comprehend how can you work with that. Like it's not even logical for them. So it's a double problem. So how do you document the aging workforce and then moving to that next part? And I think that's going to be a great part of the topic with the Amsterdam right after this, because that's a company that's been around for a long time, and they have that challenge, and their initiative that they're doing with us is really how they reinvent themselves with this notion of digital twin, but ultimately is to drive employee workforce the next version to want to work for these type of companies, right? So it's a big challenge.
I think we had a question.
Yeah, building on that, if you bring someone into like a new employee into a factory, they don't want to read a PDF to understand how it works. So do you have some kind of AR or VR or ways for them to understand, but live, physically in the factory? Is this something you showcase in the?
Well, for that we showcase it with Preview 3D's tool mostly. What we've also seen, you've all heard of it too with the Apple Vision Pro glasses. That's another product that's coming, and it's kind of changing like the augmented reality world, where it just becomes a lot more intuitive to see the machines, deconstruct them, play with them. So that's also a cool thing that we are watching for. There's a lot of new use cases that are being built at the moment around that. You also had Meta that released some new glasses in AR and stuff, and I think that would come into play with that for training.
Yeah, certainly like AR, VR, XR, all the R's out there. I think for us is something that for a long time was like, people were curious about it. But I think that between Meta and Apple Vision Pro, that now it's becoming more realistic to use these devices in different use cases. But again, for me, it's back to like, doing AR, VR,
what are you solving?
But what are you doing with it? And so a lot of the work we're doing right now towards next year is really identifying actual real use cases. But what could you do with that technology? And not just like, here's a headset and have fun. Because yes, putting on the headset and being in a virtual world and an immersive world it's impressive on one side, but what do you do, right? If you just move around and click on things and you just roam around, it's great for a discovery process, but you're not doing work. You're just playing around, right? So the key to AR, VR, XR, all that stuff is really finding things that people need to do that will become so much more efficient in this type of immersive or virtual environments. And I think that's what's not there yet, right?
No. The hardware has been lagging, and I think that's what's kind of changing. The hardware is coming right now. It's clearly there. And I think we will see some of the stuff interesting, and I would like to see what you guys are going to develop around that. I'm sure you have some projects in the pipeline.
Yeah, definitely. By the next time we do this ConneXion event, I'm sure we'll have cool stuff to show on that con. Well, thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate this session.
Thanks, Michel.
Thank you very much.